I want to thank everyone for coming. Hopefully you can see the screen here. We are starting off. This is session 3 of proof is in the pint. Sorry for the typo there. A project that we started with Nick here at Hanabi Brewing more than 3 months ago, a few years ago, but a field project where we're testing a PROGreen50 CO2 chiller system at his brewery in Napa, California. And I want to thank you, Nick, for coming and
pleasure
to your brewery.
Great pleasure.
And being a part of it. And no, it's going to be a great session today. We're going to do, we'll go through some introductions on the next slide. We're going to do a project summary. We'll go through some of the goals that Pro has had, and some of the goals we've accomplished, some of them that we're working on, and also some of the different observations and stuff that has come up along the way. We're also then going to jump over to Damon and John, and I want to reintroduce everyone to Sergio Romero, who is a former Pro engineer who is relocated back to Bolivia, but he is back on working with us as a contract engineer. So we're happy to have him back involved in this project where he was involved of it from the very start. So we are excited about that. And then we'll do a tour of Nick's system and talk specifically about the Adiabatic system. So with that, let's jump into some formal introductions, if that's okay. First of all, I want to introduce you guys to Nick Gislason.
Yeah.
He is the co-founder of Hanabi Beer. He makes wine for Screaming Eagles, some of the best wine in the world. He also does fireworks. Every hobby you do, you kind of do it to the extreme. We've known Nick a long time, and we appreciate, what he's done. He's entrusting his brewery to us to test out this technology and test out this machine. And we want to thank you very much for, again, being part of it.
We're excited to be a part of it.
Also, I want to introduce is Jim Weatherwax. Jim, if you could wave. He is out there in the gallery. He's doing a lot of the heavy lifting here before and after and during these sessions. So I appreciate all the work. He's our regional sales manager. We have Damon Reed, who is on remotely from North Carolina at 7 p.m. We appreciate you guys hanging back east with us. Damon will be presenting the report. Damon's our acting COO and Chief Revenue Officer. He wears all the hats, and we rely on him a lot, as we do in this project too. So I'm excited to have him and to hear the report that him and his team have put together. John VanderGiessen is our service manager. He will be presenting with Damon. We have Sergio Romero, as I mentioned, back on the team and also be presenting. We have Elisa Robbins spotlighting things and working behind the scenes back in the Seattle office. And then I also want to, Maylin didn't come out, but from RD Winery, who is also a part of the study, is their system that's right here next to us. So, and I've got a lot of special guests, but they're all around the corner. But I am wanted to get those introductions out of the way. And did I miss anybody?
I think that's it.
Okay. I'm Peter, who's your assistant here. We appreciate his help also. Let's talk about this project, if we could. Did I skip it? I wanted to review first kind of where we started, what our goals were, and what we have here and what we've ended up with. So let's start with your need for a chiller and your interest in the CO2 system.
Yeah. So for me, of course, chilling is at the heartbeat of the brewery, like any brewery. And so we needed something reliable, like you would for any chiller that you might buy. But we're particularly interested in CO2 because of the hot water heat recovery as a byproduct of using this machine. So specifically interested in a chiller that has all the things you want in a chiller. So reliability, ease of use, easy to maintain, easy to understand, easy to service, just robust.
Yep.
Able to handle cold conditions, hot conditions, rain, sun, varying loads inside of the brewery. So we need all those chilling functionalities, like you would in any facility like this. But the hot water recovery is a big one for us, especially with the cost of energy in California, both in terms of electrical, but as well as petroleum, so natural gas to make hot water. We were particularly interested in a machine that could not only achieve the cooling needs, but then also potentially achieve a lot of the hot water heating needs. So that was a really big interest for us. So that's what we're in the middle of right now, is a real life study of that. And then along the way, also interested to compare the electrical efficiencies for the cooling functionality of the machine of CO2 compared to competitive traditional refrigerants out there.
Right.
So that's the main goals for us.
Right. Yeah. I can't wait till we really dive into all that. We're collecting so much data. And
exactly.
Today we were on a meeting where we're even finding new data points and the ability to track them. So it's
yeah, still early in the project, a lot of data to gather, but we're definitely learning some pretty interesting things so far.
Right. Yeah. And is it possible to turn that volume down a little bit? Thank you. It's just, yeah, I think it's echoing back that way. That's up better. Does that work for you? Cool. Thank you. We're learning the technical difficulties. Yeah. I hope everyone out there can hear okay. Yeah, and I wanted to talk about that. And also stuff we learned was stuff we hadn't considered. It's just serviceability and access. How to do simple stuff, on our synthetic system is no longer, super simple.
Yeah.
It's been a really good lesson for us, and in the ways we knew it was going to be hard, and jumping right into kind of the goals. I appreciate you sharing that, because it was a good lead in to the goals we had. We had developed a larger scale CO2 system, 100 horsepower. It was too big for you, and from day one you were kind of putting pressure on us to come out with a smaller model, but I lost my train of thought. But the ability to
something that would scale for, like, in our area, there's a lot
and to get the R&D. Also that was the big thing. I think we're getting so much further faster. Getting the time out here in the field. This is the first production unit. We're getting live data. We're getting I think it's just been a really strong project for us to help us accomplish a lot more than we thought we could. And the other goals that I had were, of course, around efficiency. We don't want to show that there's a compromise to go to the CO2 system versus the synthetic based system, and that's been the stigma kind of in the past, that you do have to compromise, but you compensate for it by the hot water heat recovery. And we're on some studies and other studies, as we've mentioned, we are showing that the efficiency gain is there, and it's from not just the direct refrigerant, it's from a lot of reasons, including the more complicated controls and the more complicated operating system that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But this the one thing I kind of wanted to point out is it has been an opportunity to prove, we've gotten to prove a lot of these goals out, as well as identify a lot more opportunities for goals that we hadn't even considered. So it's been a win-win, but it hasn't been easy. And I appreciate your patience. We've gone through a lot of tweaks and modifications, just kind of getting things set up to get the testing and to get it operational. And we couldn't have done it without really the support of you and the whole crew.
It's a lot of fun. Happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. Cool. Are there any questions from Anyone out there? Damon, am I leaving anything out?
No, Jim, I think you got everything covered really well. And being able to jump into these reports, I think that'll open up, kind of share with and reinforce the information that we're collecting and able to build, and then get everybody who joins and everyone's feedback on ways we can make it better, because, that's important too. The things that a technician pays attention to aren't necessarily the things that the end user is going to want to focus on, or the things that the engineer is going to want to focus on. So I think having this opportunity to host these proof in the pint sessions and have this open forum is super valuable for us to be able to build that, and anybody who's joining to see and get the different feedbacks.
Right on. Do you want to jump into the operating report, Damon?
Yeah, you bet. Happily. Hey, everyone. So what we've done, if you joined on the Proof is in the Pint, the last session that we had, we did just a daily operating report that we were looking at. We've since kind of done some revisions to the reporting and the way we're reporting. We took the adiabatic report. We're making that a separate discussion today. So it's not part of what we're going to see on the operating report. But we took the operating report and we backed it up from June 11th all the way to today. So we're not looking at it as a daily session. We're looking at the same metrics, but we're looking at it overall on what's happened since the last time we had our last meeting. And some really cool things as we were putting this report together that we have that we'll have John talk about was we had a service event occur, and we'll be able to see that. So I'm gonna just pull this up and we'll take a look. Can everybody see that on my screen? And does that look big enough for you?
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. So our logging period we have on this one, this is 984 hours captured, but these records and these data sets that are being analyzed are by the minute. So it's a total of 42 days that we have covered of operating data. Because we did such a long draw in time, we only have a 48-hour window of the alarm history. One of the things we noticed, so we see right away, we have 0 active alarms, 250 cleared alarms, which I'm going to talk about. That low PO, that's low suction pressure. That's actually an alarm that we use to cycle the compressor off under normal conditions. So it remains blue because it's a normal operating item that we utilize. But this one, the external power loss, it popped up yesterday at about 11:20 a.m. Did we lose power or cycle power that you're aware of, Nick?
No, I was not aware of that particular power outage.
Yeah, it cleared at the same time, so it might have been a brownout or something. But on inside the control system, we monitor our control power. We have a battery backup that switches over for all the low voltage controls. If that loses power, it notifies and sends out an alarm on that. So it happened and it cleared within the same minute. We're looking at our glycol reservoir temperature. The lowest range we got to, we didn't highlight over the max, jumped out right away, 53 degrees for glycol. That occurred on the 15th at 5:20 p.m. And so then that triggers for us a graph just so we could see what happened. We could see where we got up to. This is a daily average that it pulls up, and then kind of where we drop back off to on the report. John, do you want to talk about what happened there?
Yeah, so I think it was during that week of the June's Proof is in the Pint meeting, but we got an alert of a low receiver pressure alarm. And first thing we looked at was the trending data on the pressures on the unit, and we saw that flash tank pressure is trending down. And so we immediately thought that the system was low on charge. So we went out there the next day and did a little evaluation on the unit, and we found that there was a little threaded connection on on one of the hose connections that unthreaded itself, and it was leaking there. And it was a big ball of dry ice from that cold liquid coming out of it. And so it was pretty easy to spot just seeing the big ball of ice. So we got it tightened up and got it recharged, and it was back off to the races. So that's why we have that glycol temperature spike there, was because the chiller was down for those days.
Nice. And this will support, and I'll kind of go through the rest of our operating rate data here, because we did pick that up on the flash tank receiver pressure as well, where that dropped down to 300 psi, and I'll talk more about that. Gas cooler pressure, everything looked good. We ran on the low end, we saw 700 psi. On the max, we got up to 1500, and we averaged 8.25. So those are good, solid ranges I'd expect to see. The flash tank and receiver, and forgive me for some of the vernacular here that, you know, is more driven to the tags that are used in the control software. But basically, this red box that's highlighting our minimum receiver, this says, hey, our receiver pressure got down to 307 psi. We have a set point in the control system that operates it's called a flash gas bypass valve. It's basically an automated valve that regulates your receiver pressure. And that's set to maintain 500 psi. 551, I think, is the exact number. So if I see, looking at this report, when I see a 300 psi receiver pressure, right away, that's a red flag that says, man, that's awfully low. So we went ahead, and we get a graph of that as well. Same event if they're overlaid with the loss of refrigerant. So seeing low receiver pressure, red flag to say, hey, we don't have enough refrigerant.
You actually noticed that, right? Didn't you? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We had our suction superheat that we're looking at. That tied right in as well with the service event. So suction superheat, dropped way off. That would happen because your suction pressure drops way off. So everything starts to get unhappy. It tells you. Down into the remainder of the time, we're averaging 20 degrees of suction superheat. That's a beautiful suction superheat range. 57 as the max. Those are some of the highs that we pick up when we do a start stop of a compressor. And so I kind of disregard those when we look at those a little deeper. Heat recovery. So our heat recovery inlet temperature, this is a min, max, and an average for us. So we were as low as 60. This is our heat recovery water coming in, what our max was, and what our average temperature was. And then same thing for the heat recovery water out. And then we look at our storage tank. So we have a heat recovery water storage tank that's circulated through the heat recovery system. And what did it do? This is going to make more sense to everyone when we see you'll see more of this when we do the operation.
Focus, yeah.
So duty cycles on the compressors. This is a really solid one. I think that says a lot about the last 6 weeks. Both compressors at 0%, 90% of the time. We haven't even operated compressors. We've ran 9% of the time. Our run cycles have averaged 1.5 per hour with an average runtime of 2.9 minutes. Even runtime on both compressors, that's great to see. What that tells me is there just hasn't been a lot of load on the system over the past 6 weeks. The Adiabatic System report, we'll talk about that separately because I've got some good information to share with you there. Then we did just a 6-week average trend over glycol reservoir temperature, gas cooler pressure. Again, we see this spikes like this, these anomalies. What happened? This yellow, where this peaks up, in the adiabatic report, I'll talk more about that. That's where we got some higher ambient temperatures there. So I expect the gas cooler pressure to come up a little bit there. Receiver pressure and suction superheat. One of the things, and anyone that's if you've heard anything about CO2 or people talk about CO2 systems, flash tank / receiver stability is a big important factor. And you can see once we get our service repair, our receiver pressure is staying, which is the orange. I'll get my cursor out of there. Is staying pretty stable. So that's a good stabilized system. The suction superheat, it's got variability, but that's just with cycling and things like that. So all in all, great report. One service event in the last 6 weeks. It was addressed. Service team jumped right on it. Nick jumped right on it. It was awesome. We got it resolved.
We learned a lot. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Next, how about I put up the adiabatic review slide? We can kind of cover it from a high level, and then we'll
Sure.
we can either have you guys walk us through it, or I also have a link to that video that is on there also. What this slide shows, it is showing us the adiabatic pads mounted on this chiller system to the right. The diagram to the left is showing a standard system, a dry cooler without adiabatic, and how typically the outside air will enter that condenser, and then exit through the top. We throw the adiabatic pad in that airstream, pre-cooling the air before it goes in to the condenser or to the gas cooler. I'll go ahead and paste this insert, but the slide are pretty self-explanatory.
It's like we make the air temperature that gas cooler's seeing colder than it actually is outside.
Yeah.
The adiabatic report will kind of show some good reinforcement to that for everyone as well.
What we've installed on this system here is we have a sensor measuring the air outside the adiabatic pad, and then a sensor measuring the air inside. Nick, you were watching it yesterday. You saw some interesting results.
Yeah, it was operating yesterday, and the ambient air was about 95 Fahrenheit. And then the temperature on the backside of those pads was 69, which seems nice and mellow as far as the chiller is concerned. So that was nice to see. There was a little bit of water that was making it all the way through the pads to the floor. Not very much, just a trickle. We'll be interested. It'll be interesting to quantify that throughout the rest of the summer to start to understand over days and weeks and months how much water do we have to dedicate to the cooling for a typical Napa summer. That'll be a useful number that we're interested in, and I'm sure our colleagues are going to ask when they see those.
Right.
But that'll be easy enough to measure, I think.
Yeah, and we've found two things. Well, one thing today, we're going to install a cumulative flow meter. So today going forward, we're going to have an independent device logging that water usage, and that's what's feeding it. And then, as Nick mentioned, we don't recirculate through our pads. It's a one pass, and what you really want is nothing at the end. You just want, you want most of the moisture to be evaporated before it gets there.
Yeah, and I think especially to understand, we haven't seen these running very much so far. It's like a couple of hours, 2 hours a day, maybe, a couple days a week or 3 days a week, something. It's not like it's all the time by any means.
Right.
Just to clarify.
Yep. No, that's a good point. We're not getting a lot of runtime on the compressors, and that's another thing we got to sync up. We realized today syncing the solenoid with the compressor usage and other things is going to be all work that has to be done. That's a great system. What I'll probably let's show this video.
Okay, doing a walk around video on the system. Here's the adiabatic pads installed. Drains. Everything is fixed and secured to the bottom there. To go up top here. Got the solenoid coil going into a J box. Here's his heat recovery lines. This is potable water off of the supply. T's in isolation valve for the adiabatic, isolation valve for the heat recovery.
I'll go ahead and put links to the video and also the that adiabatic description slide in the chat also for anyone that wants to read it further. Cool. Well, now you can show us the
That's nice.
report.
Yeah, right on. Okay. You guys see it? Okay, awesome. Okay, so the adiabatic system, I wanted to talk about the set point. We engage the adiabatic right now if the ambient air temperature is 85 degrees or above. So if it's 85 degrees out, we should expect to see the adiabatic running, and then it stays on unless the ambient temperature drops to 84 degrees. So that's what we're looking at. I went ahead and I pulled the same data set. We grabbed 983 hours, and the adiabatic was on for 37 hours or 4% of the time. It was off 944 hours, 96% of the time it was off in that period.
Those were all operating hours. That was total operating hours of the chiller.
That was total operating hours of this 37 out. This is total. This is from June 11th to July 22nd. So this is our 900. This is the time period. The adiabatic solenoid was engaged, or that output was calling for it. 4%, 37 of those hours.
Okay.
25 different occasions, broken down into different time slots. We took and looked at the adiabatic system effect. So over that time when we were on, what was the temperature coming into the pads versus what was it coming out? And these are the different degrees of temperature difference. So 13% of the time we were 0 to 2 degrees temperature difference. Almost 30% of the time we were 2 to 5 degrees. We were 5 to 10 degrees 54% of the time. And we were more than 10 degrees 5% of the time. And I'm going to explain that a little bit from the adiabatic mindset. So when we first turn on at 85, we're not going to see an immediate change of temperature. We have to get a little bit of time to wet that surface, or people will say charge the adiabatic surface. So we've got some charge time where we're not going to have a big delta. That temperature is going to change more once we get that adiabatic pad charged. Then, because we're coming on at 85, most of the time ambient temperatures are climbing. The hotter and the drier that air gets coming into that adiabatic pad, the bigger range we get, or the wider gap we get on temperature difference. So we can see that. Broken down here, there was a few days, the 13th through the 15th, where we had a hot spell, if you will. Those are our biggest run periods for adiabatic. So the ambient temperature is the red line, and then the air coming out of it is the blue line. Just going to try to get my cursor over this without, it's probably not going to work. The average of the high of the adiabatic air out was 81 degrees. So even though we were getting up into the 90s on ambient air temperature, mid 90s, I think I was seeing, the gas cooler, it saw 81 degrees ambient the entire time, is roughly what it was seeing, or cooler. So then where we see it, when it drops off at 85 ambient, we disengage the adiabatic, but you still have wetted surface. So you still get some adiabatic effect as it, let's call it decharging, uncharging. It's drying out the pads. So this is good. This is good, solid data. The effectiveness was good, and pretty happy with what I'm seeing here.
Right on. Do you guys have any KW data tied to this report?
I don't have any KW data tied to this report right now.
Is that, no? Awesome. No, this is great. I know Adiabatic, we were finalizing the install on this, which was a new design for us. So there was like 3 different levels of challenges, but I appreciate everyone's working, getting that up and going. I'm glad to see we're starting to log the data, and we'll have some real information as we keep going.
It's good stuff. You got any questions, Nick?
Well, I think what we're going to be doing some trials on in the next couple of weeks, we're going into another big brewing cycle here, and just spend a little bit more time on the heat recovery part would be interesting to us.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about before, it'd be good to brainstorm some way to control the outlet temperature of that potable water HX, so that we can modulate the flow through that heat exchanger to maintain a set point on the hot water outlet when we're running. For instance,
yeah, and automate that.
like we were brainstorming briefly last time, the thought that crosses my mind is a modulating valve.
Yeah.
That if it's not reaching set point, it just closes until it closes off, next down until it closes off to slow the flow. And then otherwise starts to open and feathers to maintain 180 on the outlet. Just because unlike the dairy operations, our hot water setup is a little different. Like we discussed before, where we have an open reservoir that is, we accumulate hot water in and then use it in kind of a surge manner. So the ability to control the hot water outlet temperature would definitely be very, very useful.
That's good. Right now, what we have on the heat recovery is we have variable speed pumps on both sides, right, Damon? But they're
correct.
Manually,
And
they're kind of manually set. So we've got some little programmable controller or something, or that is sounds like a good next step.
Yeah, definitely.
When will you have your big next production push?
So it's going to start this weekend,
Okay.
and then it'll be the next 2 weeks.
Great. Well, let's we'll discuss that then
Yeah.
offline before then.
Exactly. Brainstorm something.
Well, was there anything else?
That's
Any
it on my
questions
list.
from anyone out there? How's the beer tasting?
Sure, it's good.
Did I forget anything?
I'm looking right now. I don't believe so. Covers, I see it covered everything that was on the agenda.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we will share the video, the report, and the, there was one other, oh, the slide describing adiabatic. I'll get all those, shared to the chat or sent out if you need it. And I think we can
Outstanding.
close this out. I'm getting thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
All right. John, did you have anything to add?
I do not. No.
Was Sergio on here? I wanted to at least say hello to him.
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, there you made it.
everybody.
Sergio, what'd you think of the reports? You think we're in line?
I think that we're in line.
Oh, there you are. I see you.
And we just need some tuning to improve it, right? But because there's always room to improve, but with how much we have done, like it's remarkable.
Right on. Right on. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate anyone who took the time to log in today. It was great to get back on site. I got another long list of tasks to take home and to keep plugging away on. So back to work. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. See y'all later.
Yeah.